And we are going to get rolling here in three, two, one. What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report, representing the Off the Bench Podcast Network. It is time for another edition of Call to Post, our weekly thoroughbred racing podcast here, where we cover just that thoroughbred racing, getting you ready for the weekend ahead and the weekends ahead. I couldn't do it by myself. I am very, very honored and grateful to be joined every week by Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Raider Jim at Raider Jim 1090 on Twitter. Mr. Martinez, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Usually we start off and I say, I'm doing great. The sun's out and I'm in California, and every day's a great day when I get to talk racing and basketball. But today I have to say it's a great day. Every day's a good day. But I was driving home about an hour ago and it sounded like somebody opened up bags of gravel and poured them on my car because we actually had weather in San Diego today. We have hail and rain and cold and all kinds of stuff. So one day out of the year, that's what we get.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll be okay. If you are out there on the roads, make sure being a little extra cautious out there. But yeah, I was thinking about a half hour ago we had some pretty nasty thunder, and
Yeah.
I was thinking, is that going to cut into the podcast? But it seems to have
I think
settled.
it's blown over again. Yeah, at
Yeah,
least for the time
exactly.
being. And hats off, kudos to the Santa Anita track for recognizing it a week ago, because they actually called off today's races on Monday, late Monday, and they posted it on Tuesday. They didn't even bother trying to send the horses out. But it is interesting, even last weekend, to open it up and look and see sloppy track conditions. You don't see that in Southern California, and that's probably what you're going to see tomorrow too. I can't imagine it's going to be good, good for the horses. I mean, they'll get out there, but you're not going to see blazing speeds, that's for sure.
No, and I
At
think
least
you're
they're
gonna.
going to run.
Yeah, and but I do think you will see some late scratches. I think there are going to be some trainers, some ownership groups that wake up in the morning and go, you know what, it's just not worth it
Right.
today. But we do have some Santa Anita to get to in a bit, mainly focusing on the Kentucky Derby. Of course, something we will follow all year leading up until May, and then we'll start to dive into the Breeders' Cup. But it's the qualifications for the Kentucky Derby, and we have two big races this weekend as well, that with some big names running, and plenty of points to go around. But before we get into that, let's dive into the weekend that was, obviously Gulfstream, the first big weekend of the new year, at least the calendar year. And we'll start first. It was, of course, the Pegasus World Cup weekend. We'll start on the turf, and it was Colonel Liam coming in, of course, ridden by Arad Ortiz. Finished coming in second was Largent. Paco Lopez was aboard there, and then cross border Tyler Gaffalione there. All three of those horses we talked about last week. I can confirm that Largent was named after the Seattle Seahawk great Steve Largent. So that is confirmed. But we talked about all three of those. Colonel Liam, I believe, was the favorite, but Largent and Cross Border both had some nice little odds to them, and made me a nice little bit of money.
Yep, I would agree. We did hit all three of those. It was an exacta ticket for me, which made me happy, and it was a great way to start the day. But boy, they sure didn't disappoint. Everybody had high hopes for Largent and Colonel Liam, and wow, those horses brought it.
Yeah, it was it was a
But
really it was
again, every
good.
time you look, you get to see the patterns. You see Irad Ortiz. You see
Always
Irad Ortiz on the back of a horse. Yeah.
seems like that seems to be pretty safe money these days, and he is probably the best jockey right now in the world, or at least on our radar. With all due respect to, we don't want to discount the international after what happened at the Breeders' Cup. So, but at least that we see here in North America, Irad Ortiz is top billing for my money. But moving on to, of course, the Pegasus Dirt, the World Cup Invitational, the opportunity to get a free pass or a free ticket to the richest race in the world, the Saudi Cup. But it was not really a big surprise at the top, and it was Nick's Go. There was a lot of talk about, could this horse stretch out to this distance? It was pretty much the same situation. That was a almost carbon copy ride of the Breeders' Cup, not as fast because he didn't need to go as fast. It wasn't the same class of race horse, but it was Jesus's team and Independence Hall coming in right behind it. I know TVG this weekend had a nice little you put down excuse me money on one horse to win, and then if it comes in second or third, you got your money refunded. So some people took it, as an opportunity to go after some um, long shots. I took it as an opportunity to put a big amount of money on Nick's Go, knowing that this horse was going to finish first, second, or third. It wasn't going to pay a ton, but if this horse came in, I could throw a little extra towards it, instead of putting it, across the board. And it did pay out. And of course, we talked, seems like every time we talk about a grade one, Jesus's team is at the top of our list. And the same thing happened there. Was able to hit that. So it was a very healthy day for the Pegasus World Cup, or at least on that race. Thoughts on that race there, Raider Jim?
Yeah, well, again, I was not to pat myself on the back and sing my own praises, but race 11, I got the exacta. Race 12, I got the exacta. Jesus' team is just a competitor, just always out there. And what's surprising is went off at 1180 to 1. So an almost 12 to 1 shot comes in and put up a good race, actually, real good race. The one that was a surprising horse, the one that showed that got past me, and I don't know how, was Independence Hall at 27 to 1, almost 28 to 1, but ridden by Flavian Pratt. Now, how I missed that combination is beyond me, because that would have been one of my buy a show ticket, because if he's on the horse in that caliber of a race, good chance for him to finish in the money. But Brad Cox and Nick's Go, let me tell you, he is again sitting on gold, just like with Monomoy Girl. I mean, it's the same kind of a thing. They're already talking about how much do they really want to race Nick's Go after the Saudi Cup. But if he wins the Saudi Cup, then they're probably going to at least get him into a couple more races in 2021. But they're already forecasting what his breeding fees are going to be. And really, that is where the money's going to be made with this horse. Not that he hasn't done well already. That's that, oh, my contract was only 5 million this year. I wonder if I can make more next year because 5 wasn't enough. Yeah, well, he's made the millions. So I think it was 1.3 million they won just for that race the other day. So yeah, hats off to Nick's Go. Again, you can't say enough for Brad Cox. He's just got he's got the Midas touch right now.
Definitely. I mean, there's something special about a horse that, runs a mile and an eighth, I believe it was at, or at least a mile and 16, that can go gate to wire. It's just not necessarily saying it's, the best horse, but there's in your mind, when you see a horse do that, it might not be the most dominant horse ever, but in your mind, it almost tricks you into thinking that because it's so good. You watch enough horse races. I remember, when I would watch horse races with my dad, whenever his horse was at the front, he would hate it in long races because he knew, okay, I'm going to watch this horse finish in fourth when 3 other horses run it down at the wire. And that's not happening with Nick's Go. And I think it's also a great point what you brought up. They already have 1 or 2 eyes in the breeding barn. And I think that's kind of the way of horse racing now, or at least with the big horses. We've seen it with a couple of these others. Now, granted, they were injuries, but it's easier to just go, we're going to put this horse into breeding, and it will probably safely make that money back in a year or 2. Sure. Especially with these stallions. I mean, it's incredible when you can just once again, I hate to kind of put it as like commodities, but they're a situational where they can be an investment for not just that person holding them in the barn, but for horse racing in general. We're going to see more than likely in the next 3 or 4 years, the offspring of Nick's Go be a force, you would have to imagine. Now, not all grade ones or
Absolutely.
great horses end up being great sires, but I know where my money would go.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like when we see, anything where the Tisnow lineage, every time you see Tiz somewhere, you trace it back, it's Tisnow's blood relative somewhere down the line, right up to most recently Tiz the Law. So
Yes.
it's just there. And it's interesting, we're talking about it and we kind of apologize because it sounds like we're talking commodities, which again, they are, race horses or thoroughbreds are investments.
Mhm.
Let's be honest, they are investments, and people with money or groups that want to pool their money invest in them with the intent of making more money. It's But on the other side of that, if you do it with puppy dogs, it's a cute hobby
Yeah.
because they're cute, but you're doing the same thing. You're brushing that dog and dragging them all over the United States and then putting them back in a little 3x3 crate and hauling them on to the next town, and let's do it all over again until they stop winning silver plates, and then let's breed them.
Yep.
So I mean, it's the same concept.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things where I fully believe that the people in the game, 99% of them, care about the horses a great deal. But moving on to
Absolutely.
this weekend, a perfect little segue. Raider Jim, you talked about Santa Anita, sloppy conditions. We haven't seen that in a while. We do expect to see that tomorrow, even if whatever the weather ends tonight, as they say it will, but it's still going to be sloppy. It's the Robert B. Lewis Stakes, 100,000 to 3-year-olds. It's going to be a grade 3. Obviously, the big reason why we're talking about this race: 10 Kentucky Derby points up for the winner, 4 for second, 2 for third, and 1 will come in for fourth. But this is a interesting race. I think obviously at the top of it, you have to look at Hot Rod Charlie and Spielberg. For me, Spielberg, it's which Spielberg are we going to see? I feel like I
That's
spent
it.
all summer. I spent all summer kind of warning everybody, well, let's make sure that this horse is actually running at its odds. And it had yet to do that. And I believe last time out, it did finally get there. But what are your thoughts on the Santa Anita Robert B. Lewis Stakes?
So there's 4 chances to get Derby points, as you said: 10, 4, 2, and 1. My money says that Doug O'Neill and Baffert walk away with all the points. And in what combination, I'm not sure, but I really think O'Neill's going to get the 10 points tomorrow. I like this horse, Medina Spirit, which is Bob Baffert's horse, and Cedillo's riding that horse, and he's on the rail, which I understand is a good position for this horse. So my money will be with Hot Rod Charlie coming in the winner's circle. I think Spielberg is going to be there, and you've got Pratt on board, so you aren't going wrong with Pratt riding your horse. But I think it's going to be Hot Rod Charlie, Medina Spirit, and then Spielberg taking up the third. However, with that said, the one that could come in and ruin that combination 1, 2, 3 is Wipe the Slate, which is Doug O'Neill's other entry. And right now, morning line's at 4-1, which is nice. That's very nice. And watch for that to move. If that goes 7-2, it's not going to surprise me. If it goes down, 3-1, not going to surprise me either.
Yeah, I love the call of Wipe the Slate. That's a horse that has ran. Obviously, look, a lot of these horses we're talking about smaller runs, 2, 3. Now in Spielberg's case, there's 6 runs, but it's relatively young horses. But what this horse has done, obviously, the first time out, just it was pretty rough. Life is Good was incredible. Won by 10 lengths over Wipe the Slate, but Wipe the Slate came back at Santa Anita to start it was the day after Christmas, started things off, finally broke its maiden. That's a Nyquist offspring as well. Spielberg, I will just bring up Spielberg as well, because this, like I said, the Los Alamitos Futurity, it came out and it won by a nose. It beat the Great One, a horse that we've talked about throughout the summer. And Spielberg, out where it is, it seems like a lot of what it is the post position for Spielberg. This
Right.
is not a horse that can start on the rail or start out wide. I think when it ran in the Del Mar Futurity, it had a post position of 4 or 5, which is exactly where everybody wants to be. I really like in this race, though, it's hard for me to get away from Hot Rod Charlie. This is a horse that was second best to Essential Quality in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Essentially, most people believe, that Breeders' Cup Juvenile is the prelude, or at least the early glimpse into the favorites of the Kentucky Derby. And obviously, Essential Quality is going to be up there. And we expect to be very high on the tote board. And I think Hot Rod Charlie is as well. But Medina Spirit, I love the run last time out, stepping up to a mile. And now, don't get me wrong, I don't think it came in first, as I just check out my notes. It came second to that same horse that I talked about. Life is Good. Life is Good is a top-notch horse, and it's beaten a couple, but Medina Spirit was only a length off of that in the Sham Stakes. That was in January, 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago. So keep an eye. I think if you can find the right combination of Medina Spirit and Hot Rod Charlie, I would feel pretty safe with that exacta. But I think this is going to be a wide open race. And if another horse comes in and kind of shocks everything, and one of those horses that we haven't talked about, I mean, I don't think Wasperant is really going to be a factor. But it's a situation where this horse seems to always be in this grade. And I don't think we've talked about it yet, but it's almost kind of like, is this horse going to catch fire? Like, that's the one thing. But that could be something to keep an eye on if one of these long shots. And like I said, this is not a saying Wasprint is my long shot. It's just the one that always seems to be at 30-1 morning line in these races. But moving on to Gulfstream. Gulfstream has another big weekend. We talked about it before we went on the pod, that it's just another fantastic slate at Gulfstream. We're going to focus on what is race 11. It is the Holy Bull Stakes. Raider Jim, I'll let you start this one off.
Yeah, well, first of all, a little interesting background on this race. The Holy Bull Stakes. Why do they call it the Holy Bull Stakes? The Holy Bull Stakes is named after one of the best racehorses. Actually, is rated in the 60s as far as the top 100 racehorses ever to grace the racetrack. This horse, in a short career, had 16 career starts, 13 trips to the winner's circle as a 3 and 4 year old. Now, some of the races this horse won: the Belmont Futurity, the Hutchison Stakes, the Florida Derby, the Bluegrass Stakes, the Haskell Invitational, the Travers Stakes, the Woodward Stakes. This horse could run. The only thing that stands out, it's one of those things, this is the horse that played all those years for one team and had all these accolades, but never won the World Series. When he made his run in the Kentucky Derby, he fell flat, came in like 12th, something like that. He, of his 16 starts, 13 finishes in the winner's circle. He had a 6 finish. He had a 12 finish, which was the Kentucky Derby. And in his very last race, unfortunately, he did not finish, came up injured, and that's what put him into retirement. But what a career he had. Another one of those little trivia notes is when he broke his maiden back in '93, he was ridden by Luis Rivera Jr. After that, he was ridden specifically by Mike Smith. So it would be great to talk to Mike Smith and find out what did you feel from that horse when you were riding him? I have a feeling it was one of those where he kind of let the horse do the work. And there was, yes, there was a lot for Mike to do to get in and out of packs and make sure he was in the right spots. But I just have a feeling, look at the, how many lengths this horse is winning by, every now and then a half length, but it's like 7 lengths, 7.5 lengths, 5, 3. Just, oh my gosh, it's just amazing what this horse could do. Offspring went out to stud, ended up, he was a sire to a horse called Macho Unit, which of course that ties into Mucho, Macho Man, et cetera, also sired a horse named Giacomo. And Giacomo won the 2005 Kentucky Derby at the stunning odds of 50-1. So there's some lineage there, and that is why they dedicate this race to and call it the Holy Bull Stakes. How about that?
That's awesome. That's
Another
great.
story from Raider Jim. The hands down favorite for me is going to be coming out of the 7 position. That's Greatest Honor, and that is spelled with a U, Ohnour. Right now at 5-2 with Jose Ortiz on the back. And then number 6 is right after that, which is Prime Factor. So there's actually the 3 in a row, the 6, 7, and the 8 horses, to me, are the ones you really want to watch. Number 6 is Prime Factor right now at 3-1, but there's another Ortiz on that horse, and that Ortiz is Irad Ortiz. So you're going to see the 2 Ortizes going at it down there. And then Sitting on Go, horse that we talk about a lot on this podcast, is at 5-1 right now, but not to be left out. And you need to keep an eye on 2 other horses. Number 9, Awesome Jerry at 8-1. Tyler Gaffalione on the back of that one. And the number 4 horse at 6-1, Amount, which is Luis Saez riding, and another Todd Pletcher horse. Todd Pletcher is also the trainer for Prime Factor. So again, don't be surprised if you see Pletcher in the money on 2 horses on this one, because for Amount to come in and win this one, or showing the money, that's not going to be a surprise either.
Yeah, this is an interesting race. I think it is going to be a bit of a 3-horse race with those 3. What do you say, 6, 7, 8? I like Sitting on Go a lot, mainly just because of the odds. Now, once again, we're about 24 hours away from this actually going off and the odds locking in, but Sitting on Go at 5-1 has a lot of value there for me, especially considering this horse has the most experience at this length. A lot of these horses, Greatest Honor has run at 1 mile and 1/8, 1 mile and 16, but Sitting on Go, 3 of its 4 races have been 1 mile or more. And then Prime Factor has only gone 6 furlongs. Now, of course, it's only been 1 race, so you can't really fault that much. But it's an interesting one for me to see a horse like Sitting on Go and see it 5-1 morning line. Do I think it will stay there? That's another question. I feel like a lot of times these horses, when the public gets a hold of these morning lines, they go up and down. Obviously, look, like the stock market. GameStop excluded on that one, but it's a situation where a lot of people, hey, maybe they watched the Breeders' Cup and they put a couple dollars on Sitting on Go, and from then on out, Sitting on Go is going to be stuck in their mind, and they're just going to throw money at it because they remember it. Now, obviously, Greatest Honor has only ran a couple. Well, actually, let me use this example. Prime Factor has only ran once, and it was at a maiden special weight. So there's not a ton of people that go out. Oh, okay, well, I watch every single race everywhere. That's not the case. So I like to see where Sitting on Go's odds go. Yeah, that's another pun I want to throw in there. But if it does go around, I think whichever one of these 3, the odds are most valuable. I think that's the best way to go. But I think any of these 3 horses can win it. And I'll tell you what, I hate to just kind of piggyback on everything you said, but Awesome Jerry was also going to be my long shot pick because of this horse has ran at really top levels, maybe not the grade 3 or all that stuff, but it's ran in stakes races for at least the last 3 times. And last time out, it ran pretty well, had one of its better races at 1 mile. Now it's stretching out a bit. So maybe that helps it a little bit. We'll see where those odds go. But if it gets to 10-1, that is a place show ticket that I will feel okay paying to see how that pays off.
Yeah, I won't be surprised because of what you said. A lot of people are just betting with what they see online. They may not go to past performances and look to see what the horse has done. A 1-turn race, a 2-turn race. Greatest Honor is probably going to go to 2-1.
Yeah,
I have no doubt it's going to go to 2-1. I can see Sitting on Go going to 7-2 real easily because people like Sitting on Go. I know Sitting on Go. I'm real comfortable putting money on that horse. And then Prime Factor at 3-1, it may stay there, but for it to bounce to 5-2, I think 6, 7, and 8 are all going to have moves in the line, definitely by race time, definitely moving down a little bit. a mount, it'll be interesting to see how far down that goes. If you can get a mount at 6-1 or 5-1 on a show ticket, that's not a bad bet.
Agreed. Good call
And,
there.
and don't ever apologize when we agree, because that's what we did last week with Pegasus, and we were
That's
5 for
true.
6 horses in the money. So
I feel like I'm the kid that gets called on second though to prove that he did his homework, and I realized, oh wait, me and the person you called on first have the same exact work and the same answers. But yeah, it's nice when it works out like that. But one other thing that I do want to touch on before we're not really going to do a horse profile, but last night was the Eclipse horse awards, and not really a huge surprise. Taking home horse of the year was Authentic. In a year, it won the Travers, it won the Kentucky Derby, and of course it won the Breeders' Cup Classic. A fantastic run from that horse. I was definitely I didn't think it would happen, but I was pulling for my girl Swiss Skydiver to get horse of the year. Didn't happen. She did get best 3-year-old filly. We'll also have a little shout out to Whitmore, who gets best male sprinter. Gamine was best female sprinter. No surprise at all that Monomoy Girl is the top older female. And then, of course, not really a big surprise that the top 3-year-old was Essential Quality. So really, really impressive to see all those horses. And if you follow along with our podcast, you really understand how important the Breeders' Cup is, because every single one of those horses that won last night, any of them, any whatever award or class, they were all running in the Breeders' Cup. Whether they won it or not, that's another story, but they all were at the Breeders' Cup. That really just shows you the best of the best end up there. And hey, we'll throw it in now. This time, in about 9 months, myself and Raider Jim will be gracing the paddock of Del Mar for the Breeders'
that's right.
Cup. But what were your thoughts? Any thoughts on the Horse of the Year award winners?
No, I mean, I would have been more stunned if it wasn't Authentic. Yeah. I mean, what do you say? That's just like, you win the Triple Crown in batting and a Gold Glove, and if you don't get the most valuable player for all that, what more did you have to do?
It was more of a question of who is in second.
Yeah, exactly.
You win the Travers, you have a really good shot, and then if you throw in the Derby and the Breeders' Cup Classic in that as well, that's pretty much, it's kind of like I don't know if you heard, the Hall of Fame had a discussion about Peyton Manning, took all of 13 seconds. I feel like that's the Horse of the Year discussion. Exactly. We don't think we need to have a discussion, not to slight any horses that didn't get the win but were nominated.
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
All fantastic.
But again, I'd like to tip my cap once again to Gulfstream for keeping COVID free, keeping the races going, and bringing some really, really, really high caliber races to start the year off.
Agreed. It's key. I think we talked about it, between March, April, and May last year, sports, we realized how easy we had it. No matter what, even if I don't like this sport, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can turn it on and it'll be background noise. Well, not anymore. Horse racing was affected for a bit. Wasn't affected as much as most, but it was affected, and it's gotten back. And outside of, Del Mar had its thing, Golden Gate had its thing, but for the most part, it hasn't been a story, really. We're about to do a college basketball podcast here in about a couple minutes for all of our listeners on Twitch. We're going to stop live streaming and then come back in. But I'll tell you what, I give you a little spoiler alert. We're definitely leading off with the drama that is COVID in college basketball. And we really haven't had that on this podcast. Like I said, we had that one weekend at Del Mar, and then there've been a couple instances at Golden Gate. But with all due respect to Golden Gate, that's not really terribly on our radar. But overall, I think all of horse racing and all the powers that be have done a great job doing what needs to be done to keep everyone safe. Now, once again, I know there have been hiccups. There have been times where things haven't gone correctly. Well, guess what? Everywhere things have messed up. no one was really ready for this. And if you were alive in 1918 for the Spanish flu, please give me a call. I need to know how we deal with it this year. How is 1919?
Right.
But anyways, there's not a handbook for this. But yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that. Just keeping everything running, literally keeping these horses running.
Done well. They've done very, very well. And so, kudos to the racing, thoroughbred racing. Before we wrap it up, I did want to throw out a couple things, if I may.
Yes.
One,
Please.
don't forget to reach out to Brandon or myself on Twitter or Instagram. You can reach Brandon at First Report. On Twitter, you can reach me at Raider Jim 1090. Private message me if you have any questions on any of the horses. I know Brandon welcomes the same. The other thing is we have just recently been invited to start up a betting league, as they're referred to, on Viget. So if you go on Viget, that's VIG, lowercase it, and register with Raider Jim 1090, you'll get a bonus for signing up. This is a no charge game. You just go on, they give you some points, and you can bet basketball, baseball, football, but we're going to do some things. We're working out the technical parts of how we can get longer posts in there. But follow us, the Call to Post betting league on Viget, and we'd be happy to hear from you.
Definitely. It's a lot of fun. It's a situation where, like Raider Jim said, the gambling, sports betting, it's fun, but not everyone's able to do it. And not everyone is financially wants to do it. Not a whole lot of people like to actually lose the skin in the game. But guess what, Bigot? You sign up, you get 1,000 points. But Raider Jim, you use that Raider Jim 1090, you're going to get some bonus points, some bonus coins to play with. All the odds they have on there are very, very conducive for you. I mean, all the spreads, they're even money. There, you don't pay the minus 115 for the VIG. That's hence the Viget. So, and then eventually you are going to get up to a certain amount of points. Guess what? They'll pay you out with some Amazon gift cards. And look, it's not cash, but if you can't find something on Amazon, give it to me. I'll pay you $25 for it. Yeah. I have all need for an Amazon gift card. I think we all need it these days. But any final thoughts, Raider Jim?
No, I just I think we're getting rain again here, so it'll be interesting to see how the track plays out at Santa Anita tomorrow for that Derby Point race. Gulfstream ought to be good. Other than that, it's been a good session.
Amen. Yes, it's going to be another fantastic weekend for horse racing, Gulfstream, Santa Anita, and everywhere else as well. We obviously focused on those two tracks, but TVG will have you covered for everything you need. It's always a lot of fun. No matter what time of day, you will be able to bet on horses on TVG. And we're not sponsored by them or anything. We're just fans of them. So that's an opportunity for you, but opportunity for me to thank Raider Jim for his time, as always.
Always my pleasure.
And thank you all out there for listening on podcast, watching on the video, or watching on live stream on Twitch. Once again, thank you all so much for listening. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace out, everybody.